up, Taiwan? I'm Erika Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The High Court has responded to prosecutors' appeal against Taiwan's former Vice Premier Zheng Wan-chan being released on bail after he was accused of corruption. Zheng has since resigned as chair of the Strait Exchange Foundation, but still faces more investigation. Joyce Zheng has the latest.
The High Court has ruled that Taiwan's former Vice Premier Zheng Wan-chan's release on bail should be reconsidered. They will send back his corruption case to the Hualien District Court, which leaves it up to them whether or not to detain Zheng again. Earlier, prosecutors had filed a motion to appeal his release on Sunday. This was after Zheng was granted bail of over $150,000 US. Zheng has been accused of taking bribes while he was mayor of Taoyuan from 2014 to 2022, and prosecutors were angry that he was released when other suspects involved in the case were still being held without bail, and so that Zheng should be held to the same standards. Now, Zheng is one of the biggest names in the ruling Democratic Progressive Party and served as vice premier under the Tsai Ing-wen administration. He's already resigned from his latest post, appointed by President Lai Ching-te as the chair of the Straits Exchange Foundation, which handles business matters between Taiwan and China. And aside from stepping down from this role, Zheng also risks losing his membership to the party. The DPP is set to meet to discuss whether they should launch their own investigation into Zheng. Now, Zheng has maintained that he is innocent, but given that there have been previous scandals which ended with Taiwanese politicians serving jail time for corruption, including former DPP president Chen Shui-bian, the party will want to make sure that they don't get caught up in such a scandal again. Luffy Li, Yunlin, and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Dozens of warships from around the world are heading to the Western Pacific for live fire drills, part of the world's biggest naval exercise, Rimpac. This year's drills come against the backdrop of rising tensions in the Asia-Pacific region, so much of the focus is on improving cooperation. Jaime Ocon reports from Hawaii.
Destroyers, submarines, and a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. They're all among roughly 40 warships from multiple countries docked here at Hawaii's Pearl Harbor Navy Base. These ships are taking part in the U.S.-led Rimpac exercise, the largest international Navy drill in the world. This ship, the USS Fitzgerald, has just come back from deployment in the Western Pacific.
Being able to communicate and being able to work effectively proves that whenever a challenge does arise, that we can come together as a team. It's my second Rimpac, and I'm really excited to go through it again because I was able to see its successes last year, or 2 years ago, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
But a lot has changed since the last time this exercise was held in 2022. The U.S. operates dozens of missile-guided destroyers like this one as a form of power projection, but that power is being challenged as the waters and airspace around Asia get increasingly difficult to navigate. In recent years, China has increased its military presence in the region, conducting dangerous maneuvers in international airspace, even coming within 20 feet of a U.S. aircraft. These actions add to an already complex security environment in Asia. On the Korean Peninsula, North Korea continues to fire missiles around Japan and South Korea. In the Taiwan Strait, Chinese fighter jets skim the airspace around Taiwan as a form of military pressure. And in the South China Sea, China's Coast Guard continues to harass Philippine ships trying to resupply outposts. It's this combination of geopolitical hotspots that is concerning many countries as trust in the U.S. response in a conflict fades.
The balance of power in Asia has shifted, and the United States can't be all things to all people anymore. And the United States loves nothing more than reassuring our allies. But trusting that commitment too much could be very dangerous.
That's why countries here at Rimpac are looking to step up involvement in the Indo-Pacific to help ease reliance on the U.S. This Australian ship, known as the HMAS Sydney, is getting ready to deploy to the Korean Peninsula.
Sydney is on a 4.5-month deployment, what we call a regional presence deployment. And as part of that, we are conducting interchangeability tests with the United States Navy We're conducting exercise Rimpac. We'll deploy on Operation Argos, enforcing UN sanctions in the vicinity of North Korea.
But even this sharing of responsibility may not be enough to ensure the region's security.
So the more and more that these states can get together, I think will be better for stability in the region to show that they can act as a collective force, but we still have a long way to go.
As China modernizes and expands its military, the U.S. and its partners are having to adapt. That's where exercises like Rimpac come in. The aim is to come up with new and more effective ways of keeping one of the world's most volatile flashpoints from erupting into conflict. Jaime Okan in Honolulu, Hawaii for TaiwanPlus.
Be sure to stay tuned all this week as we continue our coverage of the Rimpac exercises in Hawaii. Boeing has accepted a plea deal in a criminal fraud case related to 2 crashes of its aircraft that killed 346 people. The deal requires the company to pay a fine of around $245 million. That's in addition to the settlement it paid in 2021 to avoid prosecution. The aircraft maker was accused of deceiving officials after deadly crashes of 737 MAX jetliners in 2018 and 2019. The case resurfaced in January after an emergency door blew off another plane during a flight. Prosecutors say Boeing violated the terms of the earlier agreements. Boeing has also agreed to invest over $450 million in safety and compliance programs. The EU's climate service says this June was the hottest in recorded history. Last month's exceptional temperatures were the latest in a 13th-month streak, putting 2024 on track to be the hottest year on record. Temperatures this year have averaged 1.65 degrees Celsius higher than the pre-industrial average. That's higher than the 1.5-degree long-term threshold agreed to by world leaders at the 2015 Paris Agreement. Pomelos are an important symbol of the Mid-Autumn Festival, happening in September this year. But they may be harder to come by. Water shortages caused by unusually dry weather in southern Hualien have hit pomelo farmers hard, drastically reducing their harvests. Wesley Lewis reports.
These trees in Hualien in eastern Taiwan are usually filled with plump pomelos by July. But this year it's a very different story. Lack of rainfall has left these branches with just a few harvestable fruits. Farmers are hoping the government will provide the support they need. Hualien has seen unstable weather patterns in recent weeks. The north of the county was inundated by consecutive days of heavy rain. But just to the south, where pomelos are grown, it has been dry. Local officials in the heavily impacted Ruisui Township say farmers should be given more access to water resources.
相关的灌溉水范围如果可以再增加的话灌溉区可以增加的话再来的话就是政府如果有相关的蓄水池的一些补助也可以尽量增加。
Pomelo trees depend on spring rain to flower and produce fruit. And this year's drought has reduced harvests in some farms to just 10% of their usual yield. But county officials say help is on the way. Affected pomelo farmers are eligible to apply for a subsidy of around $2,500 per hectare. But many farmers worry this won't be enough. And as the Mid-Autumn Festival approaches, farmers may have to raise their pomelo prices to stay afloat. Justin Wu and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Over 40,000 chickens have been culled in southern Taiwan after the discovery of the highly contagious H5N1 strain of avian flu. The culling came after cases were confirmed at the 2 poultry farms in Yunlin County. There have been 33 cases of avian flu in Taiwan so far this year, 19 of them in Yunlin. Authorities have urged poultry farmers to monitor their livestock and carry out disinfection. They say unusually hot and humid weather has been a contributing factor in the outbreaks.
近来气候变异大且高温湿热，间接造成家禽紧迫及免疫力调试的问题，致仍有疫情散发情形。
One of Taiwan's top research institutes is celebrating its 51st anniversary. All this week on TaiwanPlus, we're taking an inside look at what it does and some of its cutting-edge innovations. The Industrial Technology Research Institute is the engine that drives Taiwan's tech development. Leslie Liao takes an in-depth look at how it helped transform Taiwan into a high-tech economy.
This is the birthplace of the world's largest chip maker, TSMC, the Industrial Technology Research Institute, or ITRI. Founded in 1973, ITRI is a government-sponsored nonprofit organization. The institute was designed to accelerate Taiwan's technological advancement and help transform the country's economy from labor-intensive low-output manufacturing to a global tech leader.
Back in the 70s, Taiwan was under a so-called planned economy. The kind of planned step by step, like introduce the semiconductor into Taiwan and introduce certain technology, the PC, the ICT technology, etc. So ITRI played a very important role to help.
Today, Taiwan is known globally as a semiconductor powerhouse. Much of that reputation is thanks to ITRI, as it was the organization that first introduced the chip industry to Taiwan.
Without ITRI, Taiwan's semiconductor industry would have never developed into the giant it is today. Pretty easy to say, well, it was the seed of that industry, but I think it was more than the seed, because what it did was it really developed and guided a steady flow of engineers coming out of the Taiwan's educational system into this industry.
TSMC, now the world leader in advanced chip making, was spun off from ITRI. TSMC founder Morris Chang once served as ITRI's head, where he received government assistance to establish the company. Without ITRI, there would be no TSMC.
During this time also kind of created a so-called OEM, the foundry business model, which is a TSMC was formed.
Today, ITRI employs over 6,000 people with campuses, labs, and offices all over Taiwan and around the world. And its main job is innovation. The scope of ITRI's research is vast. It not only develops high-tech components like semiconductors and computers, but it also does communications equipment, composite materials like carbon fiber for bike frames, sporting equipment, and luggage bags, as well as textiles. And it's even dabbled in things like engines that go into automobiles. And the list goes on. ITRI also works on biomedical, energy, green, and robot technologies. One of ITRI's main missions now is to service Taiwan's many industries. Whenever companies run into technical or operational problems, they can turn to ITRI for help. If ITRI doesn't have a solution handy, the institute can help research ways to get around issues so that Taiwan's enterprises have an easier time doing business.
For the small and medium-sized industry, they particularly need our help because they don't do a longer-term research, but they need to have, they may have some problem need to be solved.
For example, as global companies make a push to become more eco-friendly, ITRI has helped Taiwan's companies meet sustainability targets so that they can continue working with their international partners.
The purpose is just partially sponsored by the government. But we do ITRI does the research to help the Taiwan's industry to grow.
This year, ITRI is marking its 51st anniversary. The science that takes place here has been a driver for Taiwan's economy and industry over the past half-century. And the Institute hopes to sustain Taiwan's innovative prowess well into the future. Devin Tsai, Scott Huang, and Leslie Liao in Hsinchu for TaiwanPlus.
Tune in all this week as we bring you more about ITRI and some of its award-winning tech. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out the Water and Light Show at the southern branch of the National Palace Museum in Jiayi County. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.